In India, this happens during the wedding. Okay, still continuing with the second chapter, just to wrap up a bit. We are talking about, we are basically clearing the doubt whether the Mahayana is the teaching of the Buddha or not. And this coming point, this probably is the most important one. The English word spiritual system or path, I don't know whether that's the right choice of word for, say, Buddha Dharma. Because there's all this, Buddhism is not a religion, it's a philosophy. Buddhism is a religion. Buddhism is kind of, a way, all sorts of, this speculation will go on. And that's good. It should go on like that. Nowadays, people seem to even think Buddhism is more like a mind science. It doesn't matter how you categorize. I would actually even go further by questioning whether Buddhism is even a spiritual path. Spiritual, as in the spiritual experience. The word spiritual is very, it's rooted to concepts such as spirit, soul, so on and so forth. So in this case, Buddhism as a spiritual path might not really work. Anyway, overall, it doesn't matter whether you are talking about Sharvakayana, Mahayana, Pratyekayana, Bodhisattvayana. It really doesn't matter which method we are talking, which vehicle we are talking about. The whole purpose is to wake up from this continuous delusion or nightmare or this entanglement. That is the fundamental purpose. The experience of delusion is termed or labeled as a samsaric experience. That's it. It's as simple as that. When we talk about samsara, we are not talking about something externally existing, hideous, evil place. You will hear this again and again. And that's important. You need to know that. Samsara is nothing evil. It's just a delusion. It's a continuous delusion. And therefore, nirvana is also nothing divine or supernatural or something so extraordinary. It's just waking up from that continuous delusion. And when we're talking about delusion, we are talking about really nothing mysterious. We talked about this again and again. The delusion of shopping as if you are going to live 1,000 years. Delusion of, there's so many delusions. Okay, classically we say, when we talk about things, when we see things, we always see things as in whole unit. We don't see its components. We don't break it down. You understand? That's actually one of the purpose of the vipassana. That if you do some of the vipassana tradition, if you want to follow, I think probably it's really systematically taught in places like Burma, where you sit and sit and sit, and then you begin to realize this so-called body, there is no such thing as a body, one unit, the whole unit. I don't know whether, I think I've talked about this last time. But when we say shake hand, we think in terms of one unit, hand. When actually there is no such thing as hand. We have to break it down to skin, bones, blood, things, the flesh, sweat, nails. But we don't think like that, do we? We don't say, may I touch your sweat? Shall we have bone to bone, or what do you call it, skin to skin, we don't think like that. We think in one unit. See, that's a demonstration of a delusion. And it works, it has worked. Shaking hand is a big gesture. If you don't shake hand at an appropriate time with the appropriate person, you could get into trouble. In fact, the nation could get into war. Just because of this stupid phenomena called shaking hand. This is how things work. And also, when we think about things, we always think in terms of continuum. In other words, permanent. Like we say, we were all here yesterday. Right? We were all here yesterday. Are you the same person? But we don't think that, I was here, I'm the same person, remember me? I was here. This is how we think. I have continued. In other words, permanent. The same person you are talking to the same person. The one who deposited the money yesterday. Today you are coming to withdraw. With your bank pass, you can order codes, passwords. You can prove this is the same person. So again, thinking in terms of a continuous being, a permanent being. We don't think. Actually, yesterday is gone. It's never going to come back. Finished. Today is us. It's a totally, relatively speaking, it's a totally different entity altogether. But we don't think like that. You understand? So there's so many this kind of delusion that we have. And this delusion, what it does, what's the downfall of a delusion? Downfall of the delusion is it creates unnecessary expectations and assumptions and hope and fear. The same person, me, planning, scheduling, pension plan. And we don't stop here. We have our children and then the grandchildren. We need to plan their welfare, well-being. It's somehow connected. So this continuous delusion, entanglement, that's something that we need to wake up from. So as long as a method, a technique does that job with a right view, right motivation, and the right conduct, it has to be the teaching of the Buddha. So if you look into Mahayana methods, this is so beautiful. Again, I can't help but I suddenly remember this. This is so beautifully demonstrated in Vimalakirti Sutra. I don't know whether you here who have read Vimalakirti remember this. Remember the rich guy, Vimalakirti, with very this big businessman, so slightly not well, and everybody is now visiting him to check on him. And Buddha sends his disciples, but initially everybody refused to go. And then somewhere in the middle, Buddha asked Manjushri to go. And then Manjushri decides to go. Now, everyone got excited. Okay, here's this Vimalakirti who's arrogant, rich, oily hair, I don't know, diamond ring, I don't know, gold-plated teeth, I don't know, the rich people, you understand? All that image. And very cheeky, very clever, really, poking all the time. Finally, he may be meeting his match. Manjushri deciding to go, the Lord of the Wisdom, the Bodhisattva of the Wisdom. So everybody decided to, let's go. Let's go and see what's happening. So then there's the other story begins when there's beautiful stories. I think, you should read if you have time. Anyway, Shariputra also went. And Shariputra is a monk, bhikshu. And in the Charvaka tradition, monk, a monk, bhikshu, audient, even to talk with a female alone in the house. Well, and also there is this sort of in the more on the Charvakayana, the female, the gender female is sort of looked down. Male and especially a monk is venerated, and especially Shariputra, very much venerated. So he was also there. And I'm forgetting the story a little bit, but anyway, at one point, Vimalakirti has all his girls, all his girls. But there's this beautiful goddess, a girl anyway. She happened to end up talking to Shariputra alone. Shariputra is a little bit uneasy already, look, now I'm a monk and here is this female being and, what to do now? And this girl is actually Vimalakirti's sort of, I don't know. Vimalakirti has all these people who make trouble, you understand? tests people. Anyway, the female, this girl confidently walks in, talks with the Shariputra, important subjects, discussing important subjects, and suddenly the girl is very powerful. Herself, very powerful. She turned Shariputra into a woman. And Shariputra finds himself a woman. Now, this is really, now this is what you do now. This is like disaster. And I should say, people should read this part because this is probably one of the most important teaching in Buddhism, where even today, in today's world, the gender issue, there's so much gender inequality, isn't it? So much. Even the most liberal places like United States. Definitely in patriarchal society like India, China, we have so much of these problems. But here you will see the most profound teaching. This female, this goddess sang, when Shariputra said, "Oh, this is disastrous. I've become a woman." And then the goddess said, "What is woman? I don't see any woman here." And beginning with that, there's a conversation about gender. Gender is an illusion. Male, female, all this dependent arising. This is just a pure illusion. What are you worried about? You understand? So, can you tell from this story that Mahayana's teaching on gender, it eliminates the delusion of the gender, the gender-related delusion. We do have. The gender delusion is one of the most strong delusions we have. We really look down for no reason, just out of culture. And this is, I can't do justice with Vimalakirti Sutra, especially at this. But I'm just giving you as an example. So it is a method to wake you up from this kind of hang-up, this kind of delusion. So therefore, it has to be the teaching of the Buddha. Why? Because what is Buddha's purpose? Why Buddha taught? To wake up beings from the delusion. If Mahayana's teaching is doing that job, then how can we say Mahayana is not the teaching of the Buddha? Mahayana never say, this is something that we need to know. Mahayana never will say Charvakayana teaching is not the teaching of the Buddha. Never. We accept. Mahayana accepts that Charvakayana teachings is the Buddha's teaching also. This story is a really good example of Charvakayana attitude to the teaching, their own teaching. Here's a Charvakayana, Bhikshu, Vinaya, difference between gender, female and male. But in the Mahayana, gender is now finalized as an illusion. And if you are stuck with that kind of distinctions, you are bound. And if you are bound, you are still a samsaric being. You have not reached. You are not awakened. So anyway, so therefore, with a grand attitude, with a grand grand vision. One should not have this intolerance to the grand teachings such as Mahayana. One should not look down. I think one can, I can consider this as the very badly galloping through the stanzas of the second chapter of the Mahayana Sutra. By the way, if there's anyone who's new here, we are supposedly I'm supposedly teaching, I don't know, I should not say. Teaching is maybe not the right word here. I'm trying to introduce Mahayana Alamkara Sutra taught by Maitreya. And we begin the third chapter now. Before that, I want to talk about Maitreya tradition and Nagarjuna tradition a little bit. And this is a very difficult one. I will try to make it sort of easier to understand, but there's always a risk, because making it easier or simpler to understand, really we lose a lot of depth. But since we are talking to quite a lot of people, and I need to sort of also address to those who probably are not so familiar with Buddhist studies. I guess I have to kind of make it understandable. But for those who wish to go a little deeper, you can try asking me questions related to this, or you can also ask many other great abbots and scholars. But I think it's important to give you just a glimpse of this the Maitreya tradition and Nagarjuna tradition. I don't know if tradition is the right word to put it. And let me come from a few different angles. Just briefly first, okay? In the Heart Sutra, when you read Heart Sutra, there are the emptiness. Okay, even before that, let's talk about the word emptiness. The word ness, yes, I don't know, the English word ness probably is not doing the whole job, but nevertheless, emptiness. When we talk about emptiness, we are not talking about a pure negation, empty. It's not like an exhaustion of fire or evaporation of water, moisture. We are not talking about an absence. Do you know there was a a very controversial Indian philosopher. Well, I guess you can call him a philosopher, called Osho. I don't know, maybe the hardline Buddhists will not like me for quoting him. But Osho said something which is kind of interesting. Osho Rajneesh, he said, Buddhist no is a very special no. No, emptiness, no. This word no is, Tongpa-ni. No eyes, no nose, emptiness. But anyway, he said Buddhist no is a very special no. Because in the Buddhist no, there is billions of yes. I think that's quite good way to put it, I would say. It will help you to understand. So that's quite a good way of presenting. It's very interesting. I think, when I was in Japan, we really talked about the term. The term, the teleology is, as a human being, there's only a very limited way of communicating. We can do sign language, but then most sophisticated is using the words, isn't it? And then also the sign language and the body language really can be very confusing. Body language plus the words. Did you ever talk to a Greek? Any Greeks here? They always seem to, whenever they say no, they seem to say no. No. When they say yes, they say like yes. Yes. And then when they say no, they say no. You understand the body language? Anyway, that's also the habit. Because I maybe had the habit of, interreacting with the people who says no and shake hands like this, heads like this. So that's the kind of habit I grow up. So it gets so confusing. This is important. This is not just, I'm not going astray here. This is really important. Language, so difficult. So I have to say, even as a Tibetan, I really have to say, that one thing that the Tibetans of the past, they have done an amazing job, is the translation of the Buddha's teaching. I can safely say, this is one nation or one society that put everything in translating words of the Buddha. You could almost say the Tibetan language is just designed just to translate the words of the Buddha. So they have done a good job, I would say. But anyway, recently I was, whenever I'm teaching in Japan, it's very interesting again to hear the words like mu. Are there any Japanese here? They use the word mu. And I was told that Chinese say wu. Wu? Wu? What is wu for you Singaporeans? What is wu for you? Nothing. What is wu for you Filipinos or Malaysians or I don't know. But anyway, I just want to tell you this. Words, language, emptiness, empty, Tongpa-ni. It's a very difficult word. Because if I have a two mouth, one here and one here, actually 3 mouths would be good. One here, and one in the middle. Then simultaneously I will say with this empty and with this full and with in the middle union. Empty, full union together. But alas, I only have one mouth. I have to say, I have to choose. Either I say emptiness first, or I say fullness first, or I say the union of emptiness and fullness. You understand? I have to choose one of them. Don't worry, I'm going to talk about Maitreya tradition and this is about Maitreya tradition and Nagarjuna tradition. Okay? So even as you read Hat Sutra, you will read form is emptiness. What comes later? Emptiness is form. What comes later? Emptiness is not other than the form. Form is not other than the emptiness. So in 4 different corners, from the 4 different directions, Buddha teaches us the truth from the 4. Okay, let's pause it for now. I will come back to this. Now, let's be more practical. Let's look at our mind. We have mind, don't we? We do. See, we have mind. We are knowing, no? We are hearing. We sense. We feel. Aware, the awareness. Yeah, we have. But where is it? This mind. How does it look like? Does it look squishy, spongy, round, flat, square? You actually can't really say. Where is it? Where is it now? Okay, you are thinking right now. It's not as if you stopped thinking. You are thinking now. Where is it? So, the cognitions, the clarity, the fullness of the mind and its nothingness is together. You understand? Can't you feel it right now? This is nothing to do with the logic. This is evident, self-evident. Look. See? Mind, knowing. But where is it? Yet it is the most important. If you don't have a mind, you are as good as that table. Nothing. Mind is the most important. Because you have mind, you have feeling. Because you have mind, you think and you read and you hear and you talk. And all this started because of mind. So this is so important. So experience it now. There is something. Something has to be. There is. But also there is nothing. This nothingness and this somethingness is kind of together. Okay? Now, and this, in order to explain this, what is it? Okay, now let's go back to the four direction of emptiness. Form is not emptiness, emptiness is not form, emptiness is form, you know all that. This is the view of Buddhism, especially Mahayana Buddhism. Now, we need to study. So when we study, remember, we need to talk. And unfortunately, we only have one mouth. The teacher has one mouth. And also the listeners have one kind of cognition, only can't hear together, so to speak. So you have to choose emptiness, fullness. Yeah? I'm trying to simplify this a little bit. So, emptiness. Form is emptiness. That department, that whole thing got written, debated, explained, taught extensively by the Nagarjuna and the company. Understand? The fullness, explained, written, taught by Maitreya. Since I kind of, also follow the Tantric Buddhism, I will just give you a hint of, this is a Tantric advertisement, by the way. And in the Tantric Buddhism, the Tantric people are really good at talking the union of this emptiness and the clarity together. You understand? Just very briefly, don't write this down and don't quote that I've said this. It's just to help you to understand. But I'm not that wrong here. I don't think I'm that wrong, but I have simplified a lot. So the Nagarjuna people talks a lot about emptiness. And Asanga people, Maitreya people talk a lot about Buddha nature. So this is why if you go to Tibetan, they love talking about emptiness. If you go to the Chinese Zen masters, I'm sure they talk a lot about Buddha nature. Even in the restaurants, I see big, calligraphy, Buddha nature. Stuff like that. Anyway, the mind, the mind business. Yogacharya, which great masters like Xuanzang, all of these people, they're the big, they're big heroes of this. I cannot say, there's no hierarchy, okay? Oh, how can you have a hierarchy? Nagarjuna and Maitreya, wow. They're equally great bodhisattvas. They are very, very equally, very, very sublime beings. I don't know whether maybe I'm wrong, but population-wise, the population is important, isn't it? Population-wise, I would say the fullness people, they have probably more population. Whole China, whole Japan, Korea, those guys, lot of this people. So the emptiness ones, maybe less population, I would say. I don't know. So, just to remind you, this time, this text comes in the category of fullness. But, again, the fullness is, I would now alter Osho Rajneesh's, statement. In the Buddhist fullness, there is billions of nothingness. You understand? So every time we talk about the fullness here, which there is a plenty, we are never, not even 1 inch, separated from emptiness. Please understand that. Okay, so we begin with the 3rd chapter. And in the 3rd chapter, first thing we begin is refuge. We will be now learning about refuge, the concept of refuge in the Mahayana. It is sort of the theory of the refuge. And we are not performing refuge ceremony here, okay? We are talking about refuge. What is refuge? What do we mean? Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. I take refuge to the Buddha. I take refuge to the Dharma. I take refuge to the Sangha. What does this mean? Again, the word refuge in English. It's okay, but it doesn't do the complete job. It has the connotation of shelter, a shelter from danger or hardship, act of turning to for assistance, turning to or for assistance. A safe place. These are the sort of the general definition of refuge. Probably Chinese word. What is Chinese word? Hui. What does that mean? Relying. See, I like this better. Relying. I like this better. It's like this. I'm thirsty because I've been talking. I have no doubt that this is water. No doubt at all. Because I'm thirsty, I need moisture. And I can trust this will do the job. If I drink this, this will help me. The trust and accepting, I know this is water. Not vodka. You understand? This relying, this acceptance is the sort of the core, the sort of the principle of refuge. Now here, since this is the Mahayana text, we are talking about, Mahayana refuge. So in the Mahayana refuge, just as I accept this as a water, fundamentally I have to accept that I have the Buddha nature. I have the Buddha nature. Can you see this is important. Usually, moment we talk about taking refuge, you already have this pathetic, theistic attitude. Oh, Buddha is somewhere. I, me, this, small, defiled, refugee, helpless, who needs help, need to go to this person, powerful, omniscient, omnipotent. He will fix everything. To him I shall take refuge. That, by the way, is not denied, that's accepted as the means, but the fundamental core, sort of the principle, the spine of the Mahayana refuge is actually that I have the Buddha nature. See, I'm already talking like a Maitreya tradition. If it is a Nagarjuna, they will say, I, me and everything is shunyata. Everything is just an illusion. This shunyata is undeceiving, just as that water I can trust. Okay, so, trusting the Buddha nature. Just as how I trust this is water. That is the fundamental Mahayana refuge to the Buddha, which makes the Mahayana refuge, what do you call it, different from the Sharvakayana refuge. Okay, now we can expand. So, based on this, not only I have the Buddha nature, all sentient beings have the Buddha nature. So, since all sentient beings have the Buddha nature, I am quite confident that I will enlighten all sentient beings. Because it's a bit like, looking at a gold nugget that doesn't even remotely look like a gold. But if you are an expert, if you know this is a gold nugget, okay, not refined, not clean, it's still under the earth, raw material of gold, this is a gold. So, just grab it. That's how a bodhisattva look at all sentient beings as raw material of the Buddha, basically. So confidence of enlightening all sentient beings comes through that. So even as we take refuge to the Buddha to enlighten all sentient beings. Okay, let me put it another way. The only reason we take refuge to the Buddha is to enlighten all the sentient beings. Or, in other words, the only reason why I take refuge to the Buddha is because my Buddha nature is that is the fundamental, that is undeceiving. That will never fail me. Everything else will fail, but the Buddha nature will not fail. Likewise, the only thing that is trustable and non-deceiving of the sentient being is their Buddha nature. With this as a base of confidence, I take refuge to the Buddha so that I shall make them see their Buddha nature and make them accept their Buddha nature. And that is the attitude of the Mahayana refuge. We are not talking on a very extended sort of, what do you call it? We were talking about how daunting it sounds like, enlightening all sentient beings, wow. But if you know these informations, you should not be too scared, because actually about 90% of the job is already done, I would say. And what's that? The sentient beings have Buddha nature. You didn't put it there. You didn't make it. It's already there. Okay, 10% you can have. So the 90% of the job is already done. It's there already. In fact, if you are savvy enough, if you are smart enough, let's say like a gold digger, if you are looking at gold, raw material gold, the first time you see the gold raw material, you will confidently put it in your suitcase. This is gold. You can say this is gold, even though it doesn't look remotely like a gold. You can say this is gold. I'm confident with this. And it is gold. That's how a bodhisattva generates that attitude. This are Buddha. All of us. This 90% job is finished. All you need to do is a little bit of, tweaking here and there, polishing, casting a little bit. That's one element of the Mahayana refuge. Now, okay, the other second one, this is all the difference between Mahayana's refuge and the Sarvakayana refuge, okay? The second element of the Mahayana refuge is eventually a bodhisattva wishes all sentient beings to be Buddha. Mahayana will not settle down with sentient beings becoming only Arhat. There's no prayers. May all sentient beings become Arhat. No. May all sentient beings become Buddha all the time. It's always gearing towards that. Small profit, not good enough. Highest profit, biggest profit, we have to aim for it. That's the second element. The third, so important, this one you have to hear. Absolutely important, this one. Mahayana refuge has to be accompanied by the view of selflessness of phenomena and the selflessness of a person. What does this mean? It actually means there is no refugee. It actually means there is no protector that gives you the refuge. Oh my goodness, this is Mahayana at its, at its sort of, the height. This is Mahayana's lion's roar. I mean, forget many other religions. Even within all the Buddhist tradition, such things are not that easy to accept. Selflessness. So the selflessness of the phenomena, selflessness of the art, and the selflessness of the phenomena, that emptiness view must always be there for the practice, for the technique of taking refuge. Okay, another one, which is similar, but again, very impressive one. The Sarvakayana, and not only the Sarvakayana, all the other spiritual systems. Why take refuge? Remember, one of the definitions of taking refuge is shelter, looking for shelter, turning to assistance, shelter from danger or hardship. That's right, danger or hardship. Anyway, we are talking about fear. We are afraid. We are afraid that we will be attacked by danger. There's something dangerous. We are afraid of danger. Sarvakayana's danger is, Sarvakayana, they are afraid of the danger of samsara. They are so afraid. Oh, samsara, I really want to get the hell out of this samsara. Samsara is dangerous. That's why they take refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. And do you know what is Mahayana? Both samsara and the nirvana, they are both dangerous. Yes, samsara, of course we don't want to go there. But nirvana, oh my goodness, we don't want to be there. We don't want to be, even close to nirvana. We are afraid. Mahayana is afraid of both samsara and the nirvana. You have to transcend both samsara and the nirvana. Anyway, these are sort of the ingredient of Mahayana refuge. That's why the Maitreya says, the supreme method of refuge. Do you want to ask maybe one or two questions? Maybe I've talked too long. And then we will get back to the text again.
Just a quick question I received this morning. Is there any differences between the enlightened being of Shravayana, and enlightened being of Mahayana and the enlightened being of Vajrayana?
If you are talking about the Buddha, the state of the Buddha, generally no. Generally no, I should say. But one can be always specific, I guess. Okay?
We discussed the Mahayana refuge. So I'm just wondering, for the refuge taken, the other refuge by the Theravadas, is there any single benefit in the sense that, to be a bit naughty, you mentioned the lion's roar, does the Theravada guy has a benefit that cannot be covered in the Mahayana refuge?
Oh, I have to really say this. So much. I have to also tell you this. I'm using a Mahayana text. So, I have to say, there's a lot of Mahayana chauvinism here. So don't let that bother, don't let it carry you too much here and there. The Sarvakayana system has the total guaranteed path to the, to take you out of the samsara. Absolutely. They are also actually object of refuge. Mahayana people, when they take refuge, all the arhats are there to whom we take refuge. Of course. But we need to still talk about the differences, isn't it? Differences. Because for the different beings, different elements, different faculties. So for those who have faculties good for Mahayana, I would say that Mahayana's attitude, such as what I just told you, to transcend both from the samsara and the nirvana. You understand what I mean? That may be not really found explicitly in the Sharvakayana.
Can I just follow up? What happens if the Theravada guy is smart Alex? He wears the Mahayana non-duality hat, no? He said, hey.
Oh, that! I see. Oh, that one we never know, We are only talking about the system, the philosophy system. There are so many great bodhisattvas who are in the Sharvakayana, as a Sharvakayana practitioners. No doubt. Vice versa. You understand? You are talking about a person. You are talking about the path dweller. That one we cannot judge. Who knows what they do for the benefit of sentient beings? They do all sorts of things. They work in a gas station as a, what do you call it? A gas station assistant. They work as a prostitute. They work as a, hunter. They work as a king. We don't know these things. All are venerable, basically. That happens. I have to point that out. And I need to stress this, Sharvakayana is important. Sharvakayana is the root. If you have no root, Mahayana is like a stem, the body, like the building, but the foundation, absolutely not necessary. It's a bit like this, okay? If on this earth, the Sharvakayana tradition is dead, Mahayana, within about a week, will finish. And the Vajrayana, within like 24 hours. Finished. You understand? On the other hand, if the Vajrayana disappeared, Mahayana can go on, and Sharvakayana can go on. And Mahayana and Tantra can go out, Sharvakayana still can go. But not the other way around. Sharvakayana finished, Buddha Dharma is finished. Sharvakayana is so important. Never ever we should sort of not pay attention to the Sharvakayana. Ideally, this is what many great Tibetan masters would always advise to us is we should practice all together in one go. Outwardly as a Sharvakayana, innerly as the Mahayana, and secretly as the Vajrayana. That's the way to go. Okay.
Yeah, I have some question on this pramana. I think that in the pramana, they try to establish.
Pramana?
Yeah, pramana.
Okay, Buddhist logic.
Yeah, so,
Oh my goodness, okay. It's going to be difficult. Okay.
I'm trying to study, but I didn't finish it, still studying. But I have some doubts. It established the Buddha as being authentic due to his founding the Four Noble Truths.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and then so when we establish the Buddha as being authentic, then we can say that he's someone we can trust, and henceforth those other things that he teaches that is beyond us, like karma, that's beyond us, and we should say to be beyond even the 10 level, then we so we have to trust But from a troublemaker point of view, I would say, okay, yeah, there's no doubt to say that the one who spoke the Honorable Truth is someone that we can trust. But how do we know? There are so many sutras. So if I try to be troublemaker, I would say, okay, so sutra that has topic on karma is not spoken by Buddha, maybe. Someone just.
But the karma is very much part of the Four Noble Truth. I would say that. It's in the department of the first two truths. Because karma is basically talking of the suffering and the cause of the suffering. Oh yes, there is no problem.
Then how about you see in the Buddhist canon teaching the Kanju and even in the Chinese Kanju there's no in Tibetan tradition there's a Tado. And in this Chinese Kanju, this Tado in the past there's a dispute. They thought it was a fake.
Oh yes, of course. There is a lot of that. There are a lot of Buddhist canon that is translated into Chinese, which is not translated into Tibetan.
Yeah.
There are also vice versa.
So for this Tado, is translated in the Tibetan accepted as authentic. But if the translation in Chinese happened before, but the Chinese people in the past they thought at one point this is fake. So at one point they
similar things like that has happened in Tibet also. And those kind of dispute is very difficult to clear. This is why I think it is important to always visit fundamental things like a Four Noble Truth or the Four Seals to really see if the Tado is not contradicting the Four Seals or the Four Noble Truth, I will have no problem. But maybe the debate is much more refined than that. Maybe is it really taught by the Buddha or is it a disciple speaking? This, okay, I'm going to take the position of the Sharvakayana. Okay? I'm taking this position of the Sharvakayana. I will say to the Mahayana people, hey, you guys, this Heart Sutra is not teaching of the Buddha. Why? Because you yourself have written it right in front. Buddha never spoke. Buddha is doing this. All eliminating whatever meditation. Remember? Is this true, guys? You are Mahayana person. What's his name? Avalokiteshvara. Him and Shariputra having a discussion. So it's not really teaching of the Buddha. That's how we can dispute. So this kind of dispute, several things we need to do. One is really to see whether it has that 3 or 4, whether it's connected to the 3 seals or the 4 seals. I think the Sharvakayana actually is more like 3 seals. It's not really 4 seals. So whether it's connected to the 3 or the 4 seals, or the Four Noble Truths, so on and so forth. And then bigger discussion is what we discussed right at the beginning, the Cinderella page. That's always the difficult one. That's always going to be more difficult. That's very individual. Also, I have to say, the Indian habit of never writing it down during those days have not really helped. If there was few Egyptians and Chinese would have been really good, they would have written it down and carved it on the stone and stuff like that. But I come from the Indian tradition, so I need to sort of defend them a bit. For the Indians, what they think is, it's really useless to write it down. You have to write it down on your heart and you are inside here. What's the point of writing it on a piece of paper and never read and So they have this strong tradition of teachers speaking to the disciple and disciple really putting it in their head and practicing. So I think the tradition of not writing it down, plus Indians and I would say that Chinese both shared this. When they like something, they tend to exaggerate a lot. You understand? Oh, so-and-so king, his palace is 500 miles inside. We say. That's just not possible. I mean, you can always bring this, miraculous bit. You can always bring that argument, but wow, if a king wants to have a hot coffee being delivered from the kitchen, and there's no aeroplane those days, somebody has to be riding a horse, maybe the fastest. 500 miles from the kitchen to the throne? The coffee is already finished. So stuff like that. The Chinese ancient writing seems to have a little bit of that, no? So-and-so have lived 900 years. So-and-so lived about 1,000 years. Stuff like that. There's a lot of that. I mean, I would not say it's a downfall. It's just it has its beauty, I should say. It has its beauty. And it's a very different style of thinking. It has its beauty. It's just, there's a lot of flowery stuff. Many sutras. On the Jain Sutra is the same. Oh, there's this, the swans, swimming in the pond. I don't know, there's always this bird called kalapinka. I think India has this, on the trees, peacock. The description, the way people describe things during those days seems to have a slightly different way of thinking, I guess. Okay, maybe further question?
Excuse me, Rinpoche.
Yes.
Can I have a question? So, when we talk about sunyata, in Mandarin, there's this word, wu, wu xiang and kong xiang. So, wu is nothingness and kong xiang is emptiness. And I'm thinking it's like Buddha exists in 2,500 or 3,000 years ago, but this is 3,000 years now with the technology and with science. How do you classify energy waves in this emptiness? And with Buddhism, how because 3,000 years ago we don't have telescope, we don't have microscope, so we don't see beings without form.
Yeah, that part, no problem at all. Whether you have telescope, microscope, laboratory, no matter what, at the end, as long as there is a mind involved, everything can be explained according to the teaching. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, you can use telescope, but at the end, whoever is experiencing it is, whoever is finding the truth through the telescope, he or she has a mind. So the Buddhist argument is a projection of the mind. I was just talking last night, like for science, for instance, for scientists, for them proof is so important, isn't it? It has to be proven. Anything that can be proven, tested and proven, is almost like one really important component to prove that something is true. But for the Buddhists, when we talk about the proof, we are talking about involvement of mind. Okay, so you use a certain tool, but who is proving and who is getting convinced with that proof? Some mind. And therefore, it is a projection of that particular mind. So, no matter what no matter what kind of technology, advancement of technology we have reached, as long as there is a mind, then it's always going to be subject to mind, and the mind is the projector of all the projection. And here, when we are talking about shunyata, emptiness, nothingness, we are talking about nothingness of the nothingness of the projection, and also therefore the projector. Yeah, that I would not say the Buddhists would worry so much. I mean, there's one other question you can ask is, how about machine-made human being? Now, you know what they call it? Intelligence, artificial intelligence. There is questions like that. Okay, now actually the robot, the computer we can make them act all exactly like a human. How about that? People would ask. Oh, no problem at all. I would say, if scientists can make this bottle have mind, so that this bottle has a hope and fear, object of my teachings. That's good enough. It doesn't have to look like a human being for me. All it needs is an insecurity. All it needs is. That's it. So, just the fact that the scientists have come up with a being who has an insecurity, and the mother and the father came up with a being who also has an insecurity, is just a different laboratory. It's a different, scientific process. It doesn't really matter.
So is mind actually waves?
Means?
Is mind waves?
Waves. When you are talking about waves, what are we talking? Are you talking about like a energy, like a prana?
No, I don't know. It's what the science is trying to prove, that is electronic waves. We are a bunch of energy after all.
Okay.
So what my question is, moving forward, can Buddhism and science eventually unite and be able to solve all this sunyata, which really, because it's so hard to understand the non-duality as a human mind. I mean, linking to the next one, my next question is also, I've been currently reading this sutra, Lotus Sutra.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can understand that, the Hinayana ways of teaching, like Honorable Truth, because we do have a body,
Mm-hmm.
we experience samsara world.
Mm-hmm.
We all want to get out of suffering and move into happiness. But in the Lotus Sutra, the things that really bothers me is it talks about these millions of outside worlds,
Yes.
all kinds of Buddhas, and
Yes.
I'm here thinking that on one hand we're talking about emptiness, sunyata, that I'm trying to figure out how to figure out this world is actually illusion. None of us here exist. And yet at the same time, you have this sutra that talk about millions of words out there with so many descriptions. So it's
very good, very good. Exactly. This is the, you are now talking about the Mahayana character. Okay, actually, that's quite simple. This Lotus Sutras, millions of Buddha field. And in the Avatamsaka Sutra, all this, Avatamsaka Sutra is really like a Star Wars, basically. The endless episodes of Star Wars. The reason why Mahayana managed to talk like that? Okay, actually going back to your earlier question. First, is this. The Buddhists don't believe that an independent object before subject, earlier than subject. Do you understand? This one. So, like, when have you heard about me? First time. When I was 19 years old. Okay.
I was a year older than you.
Okay.
And a whole bunch of us following you from
Okay.
Penang
I
and
see.
all the way. I just text your things to all the old friends. I still have your old photo when you were 19.
Okay. So, it's a bit like this. When I was 10, and when you were, what? 11. My question to you is, do I exist? I'm talking as a, really, Maitreya, okay? I'm now, Maitreya is, your question is so, it's a really, it will open the Maitreya philosophy. So my question to you is, when you are 11, do I exist? Exactly. The moment you saw me, it is the beginning of the subject and object together. So this is really one of the quintessence of the Maitreya teaching. This is why also we talk about everything as mind. Okay, so based on that, so many things like God, the Almighty, the Creator, supposedly created all of us. Maitreya will refute, saying that no, God existed simultaneously with the knower of the God. A person who, he's the God, now that's actually the Maitreya would say the knower of the God is the creator of the God. And then he thought, okay, God created me. That's fine. You can have all kinds of myriad delusion if you want. That's all we have anyway. So on and so forth. Now jumping to the Lotus Sutra. So, this we see as a water. You and I see as a water. If we have a small fish inside, see it as something else. Totally different universe. Well, if there is a hell being, see it as a fire or a molten melt, so on and so. And if there is a God, see it as a nectar. And not only that, even as a human being, when it is flowing from the tap, it's a sort of clean water. When it's in the toilet, it's dirty water. Container of the water also makes the same water as a different thing. So this is how the projection works. So the Lotus Sutra, it's so good that you brought this up. And the Avatamsaka Sutra these are the sutras that really, really is like the main sutra that these guys are trying to, make the commentary. So the Buddha field, if the fish can think that this is their universe, and if we are confidently, if we can think this is a water, why not? We can think between here to the Orchard Road, there is about 70,000 Buddha field. No problem at all. It's just, we were talking about shifting the dimension, remember? All you have to do is shift the dimension. about the dimension. And yet, all of these are shunyata. Nothing truly exists. So the Lotus Sutras, that projection, Lotus Sutra is talking about another dimension of projection. I think it is more for those bodhisattvas. I think if you remember the Lotus, he's talking to a bodhisattvas, right? And these bodhisattvas of the sort of slightly more sublime, but as sort of, how should I say, not the highest bodhisattvas. They actually have gone beyond that. I'm trying to remember back about the sutras. I think he was talking to the first Bhumi bodhisattvas, I think. First Bhumi and the second Bhumi bodhisattvas. For them, they see. It's a bit like if you and I have drunk a lot of whiskey. We will have a different dimension of this world. We will not see which one is Jane's toilet. We will not see which one is ladies' toilet. We will see the equality between Jane, two toilets, stuff like that. But because it is driven by chemical called alcohol, after 6 hours we will be back to dualism of Janes and ladies. But within that, we will have a slightly non-dual and that kind of thing. So 6 hours dimension. Now the first Bhumi Bodhisattva have destroyed so much of this delusion. They are in a different dimension. So their way of seeing things, the way they react to the world is they see the Buddha field. But I have to tell you this. This is very, very important. This is why I was telling you the Star Wars. When I use the word Buddha field, I'm sure I can almost read your mind. I think I know what you are thinking. You are thinking about lotuses, ponds, some deer walking by, isn't it? Now, if you want to sort of really go beyond that, watch Star Wars. Actually, Star Wars is not doing good job. But, in the... I'm trying to remember that sutra. Supposedly, on our thumbnail, right on here, right on this, there is... so good with mathematics. 1 and 70 is what? 170. 10 million? 10 million? Okay, so times 82. Okay, doesn't matter. Buddha field. And again, it depends. Okay, let's say what type of human being are you? What type of person are you? Are you more short-tempered? Are you more, I don't know, different kinds? Okay, let's say you are horny type. You understand? This is important. Okay, if you are horny type, then on your thumb, there is supposedly 82 times of 10 million Buddha field, and all of them look like all of their, sort of facial, I don't know, the body structure, all of them are semicircle shape. semicircle shape. And their sustenance is color red. So on and so forth. I'm telling you, it's like a really Star Wars, like a billion stars. And this you walk around with. Now, if you are more aggressive and more angry person, on your thumb there is, I'm forgetting the name, amount. It's a different amount, not 82 million. This is something again, but lots and lots of Buddha field, which the Buddha field are all triangle shaped, and the people are also triangle. Like their mouth is triangle, their eyes are triangle, their nose are triangle, so on and so forth. Now this is the only expression. This is only the what do you call it, within the level of first bhumi, by the way. Now when you reach to the second bhumi, and the whole dimension has changed. I don't know whether I should be even talking to you this example, but since I remember, I will tell you this. The great Nyingmapa master called Ujin Terda Lingpa. She's from, what do you call it, Mindoling. A very, 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 very important master. Terda Lingpa. In the tantric tradition, we have something called feast. We do feast. Well, nowadays, we do a very pathetic one. We just buy some food and then chant some chants. It's like Guru Rinpoche Day. You understand? Drink some drinks. That's it. That's all what we do. But the real feast, the real feast is, what is feast? What is party? Festive. What is it? It has to be something to do with going beyond inhibition. If you are still walking like this, it's not party. Take off things. Then, you are becoming a little bit, like loose. You understand? Kind of like hang loose. That's the party, isn't it? Anyway, Ujin Terda he was doing puja in Mindoling monastery, I think. And he just, on the throne, just doze off. Just for maybe a momentary. And in that state, he arrived in this great mandala where he found Guru Padmasambhava surrounded by all these, people, all these dakas and dakinis having a big feast with fruits of all kinds, drinks of all kinds, so many nice food, the dance, the music, and he enjoyed so much. And he was walking around, and as he walked around, he felt a wall. And then suddenly, he had this strong curiosity that there's something inside this wall. And he really wanted to go in. So as he walked around, he saw a door. And there, a very powerful ruffle deity bouncer, Like, who are you? Who are you? Do you have pass, invitation? And anyway, Terda Lingpa chose, and so on, so on. Then anyway, he was let in. And then as he went inside, there, his own guru, led by his own guru, there's even more exotic feast going on. Amazing feast. And this time, the feast is not like, what do you call it, general rated, it's more X-rated feast. You understand? Like there's meat, there's like blood, there's skull, there's music of all kinds of, like strange music, like whistling, like growling, so on and so forth. But anyway, with a lot of joy and devotion, he enjoyed. Again, he found inner wall. Now he really wants to go in. He really wants to go in. And he went round and round, but there's no door. But he can feel there's even more exclusive party going on there. And he really wants to go. And then, as he went around, he asked some duckers and duckies, I really want to go in there. How should I go? Where's the door? And all the people say, well, there, if you want to go in, there is no door. You just have to be good at entering in it. And then he thought, okay, the only tool I have is the devotion. So he generated his devotion, and suddenly he was there, inside. And there, he saw even more exclusive party led by a Dagini called Vajrayogini. Everybody naked. Everybody. There are people with 2 heads. There are people with 7 arms. There are people with mouth in the stomach. There are people who has 1,000 eyes blinking everywhere. You understand? All kinds of his very scary stuff. And there, the Lord, sort of the highlight, or not highlight, the main person of the party is this, naked Dakini, Vajrayogini, who herself sometimes appearing as a sow, right? Pig, female pig, sometimes as a sort of a human. And she looked at him and said, actually, you should not be in this. This is a party that never ends. And there's no way out. But I can see you have something to do back home. So only you, and only this time, I will let you go out. And back to Mindraling Monastery. Dadalingpa just woke up. Just 1 or 2 moments of dozing in the puja. This is what happens with these, first bhumi, second bhumi, third bhumi people. So we are talking about dimension here. People like us, we have to just settle with the dimensions, different kinds of dimensions. Okay, let's have a lunch break.